sex trafficking, sexual exploitation. I can't even imagine what these victims go through. It is a big problem. These victims need a lot of support. And there's a great organization called Peace Promise that's there to help these victims. And this is Chick2Chick. When you hear about sex trafficking, you're like, what? Yeah. Does that really happen? I think a lot of times there are problems and issues, and because it doesn't happen to us and it doesn't affect us, we think this cannot be real. But it is real. Unbelievable. 4.8 million people. 4.8 million people around the world are victims of sex trafficking. This makes me sick. 71% women or girls. These are the victims. And people, again, don't realize it. It's a big, big problem right here in Pennsylvania.
I mean, we don't realize it, but at the same time, as women, you and I have talked about our concerns if we're out by ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
I have all
terrified.
Girls. Yeah, I have all girls. And I'm like, please don't go to the grocery store by yourself or Target by yourself. So it's on our radar.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, we have not experienced anyone who it's happened to. So today we're going to get a little perspective about it. We have Susan Diliano and Patty Seaman. They're both with the with Peace Promise. This is an incredible organization that helps victims right here in Pennsylvania. So ladies, can you talk to us about this organization?
Sure. Hi, I'm Susan. I'm one of the founders and on the board at Peace Promise, and we've been around since 2008. At the beginning, really praying and looking around the area for people to educate and learning more about it and going to truck stops and trying to figure it out, really, because it takes a while to try to find out where it's happening in your local area. It really took us years. But eventually we were able to go to the places where sex trafficking is happening. And that's where we met Patty. She was already doing an outreach ministry in strip clubs. So we positioned ourselves around 2013 in our local area to find women who needed our help. And we've been doing that ever since. And just last year, we opened a coffee shop to employ women so that we could continue to support them throughout their healing journey coming out. And the great news is, in the last 16 years, we've helped almost 40 women come the whole way out of sex trafficking right here in Central PA.
Unbelievable.
That's amazing.
Patty, talk to us. How do these women get caught up in this cycle? You talked about truck stops. What are people doing? Are they kidnapping these women? Are they luring them in with money and drugs? Talk to us about what happens.
So most of the time, what we experience here locally is what I like to refer to as our homegrown trafficking survivors. And what that means is these are girls that have grown up in our local communities. We do have a higher rate of transient, probably because of the 83 corridor, but that's not our big problem here. Our big problem here is that it's happening and we're missing it because it doesn't look the way people think it should look. We've been programmed by movies to believe that it's going to be, the girl whose car gets a piece of paper left on it in the parking lot and she goes to read it and somebody grabs her and then she's whisked away and held captive. When reality is that most of the women that we serve, it's happened in their vulnerability started in their childhood. So their vulnerability started in the home. We work with women whose mothers have sold them at the age of 12 for rent. We work with women whose family members have put them through horrendous things that we can't even imagine for our daughters. So the way it's happening here is through that manipulation and that coercion. It's happening right underneath our noses because we have the vulnerabilities. We have a lack of life skills. We have generational addiction. We have all these different things where our survivors are not able to even mature fully because they've had trauma at a young age.
So this is learned behavior. They think this is normal. Then who's selling them to get rent money? They think this is normal.
Correct.
And are you seeing this because you've got a social worker or a guidance counselor that's picked up on something? Like, how do you identify that this is even happening to these women? and young girls?
So we're very keenly aware of it because we've worked in it for so long. We have worked really hard to be educating our public, educating those guidance counselors, educating our churches, educating law enforcement about what the signs look like because they're not typical. But we have
What are those? What are those signs? Because I mean, honestly, you could be living in a neighborhood that
correct.
nobody would suspect, right? And Uncle so-and-so or Aunt so-and-so are, doing something and you would have no idea. So like really talk to us about it, because there's somebody who could be listening right now. Whatever you tell them could like fire something off in their mind that's like, oh my gosh, I've seen that and that doesn't look right.
We're going to first look for the vulnerabilities of absent parents. We're going to look for sexual abuse at a young age as a vulnerability. We're going to look for drugs in the home as a vulnerability. But then we're also going to look for certain behaviors, girls that are wearing clothes that are way too mature for their age group, having personal things that are too mature for their age group, things like that, having the cell phones that they shouldn't necessarily have yet, being isolated from friends and family. There's, we work with adults, so everybody that we work with is 18 or older. But we can still see that manipulation happening. There's control over the phone. There are controls, and it's put on through this. I care about you. I want to take care of you. It is, most of their traffickers are not initially just capturing them. We have, in the United States, we have 33% of our trafficking survivors are trafficked by a caregiver or somebody that it should be in a position of guardianship. And we have another 28% that are trafficked by a romantic or intimate partner. So that means a boyfriend, a husband, somebody like that. So you add that together, you've got 61% of our trafficking victims in the United States are victimized by somebody in a role that should be caring for them. So it's very hard to see, because they also become very, very protective over their traffickers, because they are programmed to believe that that is the only person who cares about them.
And
it's similar.
Identify as a victim. They don't see themselves as a victim.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes even after we're working with them for months or years, it takes a long time until they recognize their status as a victim.
So Susan, talk to us about the process of getting one of these girls, rescuing them, saving them, getting them out of that situation. And then what does Peace Promise do to help them?
Well, our system of outreach and connection is relationship based. So Patty and her team are in the places where we might find these victims and these vulnerable people. But also, because we've been doing it so long, we are well connected with law enforcement, with medical people who will refer people to us. So we're really well networked in the area. So the women that we serve come from a wide variety. It used to be that we found them all in strip clubs locally, but now we find them through many, many avenues because they're just coming in through referrals. But once they come in through referrals to us, or we find them out somewhere, we build relationship with them and build trust with them and start praying for them, honestly. And we're kind of waiting for an open door. And sometimes someone will open the door for us pretty easily and early, but not usually. More often than not, it's that there's a crisis in their life, and we are the people that they find most reliable and most trustworthy and most well-resourced. And they start to lean into us. And once they start to lean into us and find us reliable, well-resourced, and trustworthy, they'll allow us to start leading them. And we begin to open the door to all that we do and all that we have to offer. And hopefully they'll meet some of the other survivors that we've helped. So it's a slow process, kind of one step at a time. And eventually, if they're ready, they'll enter our program. Now, we would require, many of our gals deal with addiction, so we would require a certain period of time of clean, like you have to be in recovery and clean. But once they're in recovery and clean, we will bring them in for employment if they qualify for that, and bring them into, and I'll let Patty explain, our EEP program. But that's really the backbone of what we're doing, is our enhanced employment program, where we support life skills, but we're also supporting their healing journey with trauma care and things like that. But she can tell you a little bit more about that specifically.
Yeah, so we wrote an enhanced employment plan, and it offers them a continuum of care around them while they're working for us. So they work for us at either Good Ground Coffee or at Soaps by Survivors, and they make a standard wage for working in those environments. But then we took it a step further because we know that that standard wage in those environments is not what they need. And a lot of our survivors aren't ready to work 40 hours a week because they have a lot of trauma that they're dealing with. So to work for us, they actually have to also be enrolled in our enhanced employment plan that we call the EEP, where they agree to go to trauma counseling with a certified trauma therapist. They agree to come to our groups. So we do one group a week that is our survivor group, and that is relational based. We're going through curriculum right now, a book called Safe People. It's an older book, but a very good book about establishing healthy relationships. So we build the foundations there relationally. We have another group each week that is our core life skills. That's everything from budgeting to painting a sunset because they haven't expressed themselves as children. We do interacting with law enforcement. All the skills that we would have had brought to the table by our family members that they didn't have, we are bringing to the table. When they do all of that and they commit to that, they get, as long as they complete their groups each month, they get a bonus that is paid by the nonprofit side that is equivalent of $4 an hour for every hour that they've worked, which bumps them up to livable wage so that they can support themselves.
This is amazing to me. I mean, you're angels. You're just truly angels who are helping these women. So if someone is listening or watching, what's the first step that they need to do if they are able to recognize that they really need help? How do they get to you?
They go on our website. There is a link on our website that for survivors, they fill out that form. That form goes directly to me. And then I will reach out to them depending on their urgency level. I will reach out to them and get them connected in and start working them through the process.
Both of you ladies said something that I thought was interesting. You said, you can help these women when they're ready. When you talk about domestic violence and domestic abuse, oftentimes women, they say they'll go back 7 times before they leave for good.
Yep.
Do you find this is the similar type situation? Because you use those words when these women are ready. Is there resistance in the beginning? Do they say, I don't want this, and then they leave and then they come back? And do you keep trying and to get them to come back?
So there is resistance because it's very hard to admit that I am a survivor of trafficking when it's been somebody in that 61%, right, that I talked about that's intimately down. So they don't actually identify as being a trafficking survivor a lot of times until they're a little further along in the journey. That's why we don't like statistics, because most of our survivors have never reported to those national or state level agencies. We have one that has reported. The others have not reported. So we have that struggle there where we're not getting accurate information out there.
But
So you talked about
they most definitely sometimes relapse or they'll move toward us and then take a few steps back. It's a dance, really.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure it's a long process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it takes a while for them to go back and forth, whether it's finding comfort or just like you said, recognizing, oh my goodness, this is me. So you talked about the Good Ground Coffee Company as one of the places. Tell us a little bit about that company.
Well, that was a great gift to us. At the end of 2021, we were ready to take a step toward industry. We knew we wanted to do industry. That had been our plan for a long time. To me, I didn't really care we could have sold pencil erasers. It didn't matter to me what the industry was. We just needed something to employ people so that we could work on job skills and life skills and all the things we wanted to do. And in January of 22, just a couple months after we decided it was time to pull the trigger on moving toward industry, and we were ready financially and organizationally, we had 2 young gals from Messiah University reach out to us, Rachel Beatty and Rachel Ferentz. They were enrolled in the Impact Venture Challenge, which is Messiah University's Shark Tank. they were enrolled in that with their business plan was to open a coffee shop for trafficking survivors. They they just doing their research, found us and said, hey, can we talk to you about trafficking in this area? We're like, sure. So we met them and we knew where we were in our process. We didn't reveal all that to them up front, but they won. So they won $5,000 from the Impact Venture Challenge. And right after they graduated, we decided to buy the building where Good Ground now exists. So we called them in to congratulate them for their graduation and said, hey, we have this on video, so we love it. We rewatch it sometimes. When we bought the building, you want to do it? And they were like, yes. So, I mean, we have two 23-year-olds. One is a social work major. The other one is a business major. So together, they're perfect. They're absolutely perfect. They developed the menu, the aesthetic. I don't know if you've been there or not, but it's absolutely.
No, I'm going to go.
But it's in Camp Hill. And Patty's officing there, so she's the one with the tremendous experience with the gals, and really kind of coaches them in that way. And they're running that business and employing the gals, and it is working out. I'm not saying there aren't issues. There's challenges when you bring people on board who have the kind of life skills deficits and trauma that our girls have. So there's challenges for sure, but it is absolutely a beautiful mess, and it's flowing fabulously.
What? Let's be honest here. You're saving lives.
100%.
You're saving lives, and you're giving these women a second chance.
Absolutely.
And you're teaching them this does not have to be your life. There is a better way.
Absolutely.
But you're not just giving them something, you're making them work for it as well. So this is just incredible. It's incredible.
It is.
I also need to point out that a lot of our survivors come with children, and we get the amazing opportunity to also include their children in what we're doing and include them in some of our activities, because we're breaking that generational trauma, which is awesome.
It's beautiful. It's so much love. It's just, you just feel the love for these women. Susan and Patty, thank you for what you do, and the Rachels for what they have done as well. This is really good information for people who could need it. And what a beautiful story.
And one more time, ladies, if people are aware of sex trafficking that might be going on, or they know of some victims who could utilize your services, where can they get that information one more time about Peace Promise?
Let's go to www.peacepromise.org.
Very simple.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Ladies, thanks for coming on the podcast. Boy, isn't that great? It's great.
It's unbelievable what they're doing.
Again, it might sound dramatic, but they truly are saving these women from this horrible life that is not normal. It is not okay. And they're giving them a second chance and teaching them life skills and pulling them out of this terrible situation. It's great.
And for some, they're stopping the next generation.
You got to stop the cycle.
They're stopping the cycle. So it was amazing. We loved having you with us today. We hope you enjoyed this podcast.
Thank you.
Do us a favor. Head over to our YouTube channel. That's Chick2Chick USA. Like and subscribe. You got to subscribe, because you know what you're going to get? You're going to get a ding.
Ding.
Every time there's a new podcast from the Chicks right here. And you're not going to want to miss it. So until we are back again to chirp about another topic.